Is marijuana and hip hop destroying the black community? Let's talk about it when we come back.
Unjust, a documentary that details the unfair treatment of inmates and employees behind the walls of a private community corrections facility. It also documents conditions in a Philadelphia prison system work release program. While working in a private community corrections facility, I witnessed the results of assaults, rampant drug use, poor supervision of residents, and an indifference to the safety of the employees working inside of the facility. Sexual assaults, staff safety was at hand, and all kinds of things would happen in the facility. This documentary will introduce Dean Carr.
I love this job because I love people, and I believe my life is about affecting change in my world.
We will also meet Ian Brown, a former inmate who was incarcerated in a work release program managed by the Philadelphia prison systems.
No, it was like, yo, you still in jail, you're a criminal, and we're going to treat you like that. Every single day we're going to make sure you know that you're in jail.
Is marijuana and hip hop destroying the black community? This is Rob Bell, and this is the Daily Rant. There are people out there that say that the reason for the destruction of our community has a lot to do with drug use and hip hop. Do you agree with that? Drug use in our community has been around since our community has been around. There's been a lot of folks who, and there are now a lot of folks in our community that use drugs. They use a variety of drugs: marijuana, cocaine, methamphetamine, crack cocaine. Our community is saturated with drug use. But of late, marijuana seems to be the drug of choice, especially with our young people. And when you talk about our young people, you have to talk about hip hop, because that's the music that they have gravitated towards. That's the music that they relate to. And, hip hop and marijuana just seems to be synonymous. When you talk about, stars like Snoop Dogg, who, readily talk about and use marijuana. When you talk about some of the other rap stars who use marijuana when it comes to writing and producing their music, they'll tell you a lot of their inspiration comes from when they're under the influence of marijuana. And it seems now that, marijuana is the drug of choice among not only young people, but a lot of people. And with the introduction of legalizing marijuana in a variety of states throughout this country, and quite frankly, we're moving towards the legalization of marijuana throughout the entire United States and all of the 50 states that we live in now. Marijuana at some point is going to be just as legal as alcohol. So when you pair up marijuana and you talk about hip hop and you talk about what happens or what is happening in our community, some are saying the destruction of our community is because of both things, marijuana and hip hop. Young people are creating this kind of atmosphere and writing these lyrics of, not really caring and giving a damn about anything. They say what they want to say. They do what they want to do. A lot of the lyrical influence and music that you hear related to hip hop is disrespectful towards women. It's disrespectful towards each other. It's disrespectful towards other people. And, when you use music as your kind of guide to how you live, and all you hear is negative influences, seems to me that a lot of the way that you're going to act is going to be negative. And so, when you hear somebody say, F such and such, or call a woman the B word, then, if you continually hear that, that's what you're going to do. And it, in a lot of respects, is going to have a negative influence. Now, I know people that are listening to this are going to say, oh, come on, Rob, that's not true. Think about what happened in your day when you guys were smoking marijuana and listening to music. And a lot of that is true. We were smoking marijuana in our day and listening to music and listening to music that was a little different than hip hop. But our parents, to a large degree, didn't understand what we were listening to either. When we listened to the Ohio Players and Parliament Funkadelic and George Clinton and P-Funk and the Brides of Funkenstein, and the list goes on. They couldn't really relate to that type of music that we was listening to either. But I can say that a lot of the music we did listen to had a lot of influence in love, peace, and happiness. And, very rarely did the music that we listened to back in my day talk about any destruction. Very rarely did the music we listened to talk about being disrespectful. In fact, an artist like Marvin Gaye wrote an entire album to really talk about what was happening in our society in terms of, some of the things that we needed to change and how negative it was, and how we needed to move more so in a positive experience. And so, music like that had a big influence in my life. So that's why I say I truly kind of understand and agree with the fact that music can have a real strong influence in our life. And I'm not saying that all hip-hop is like that, because there are a lot of hip-hop artists out here that are producing some positive hip-hop music and trying to make the young people and the masses aware of the things that we have to change, and addressing some of the social ills that go on in our community and how we need to get with moving forward in a positive way. But to the same tune, we do have a lot of crazy kind of music going on out there, and people are listening to and really don't have the wherewithal to differentiate the fact that a lot of it is just about making music and making money and selling records, as opposed to artists who are kind of kicking and spitting that kind of rhetoric out and being people who live that kind of lifestyle. More cases than not, these artists are not even living a lifestyle that they spit. More so, they're living a pretty decent lifestyle and pretty quote unquote square lifestyle, but at the same time, kicking off rhymes that make them sound like they're gangsters and they're killers and thieves and crooks, and that's not the case. But you have people listening to that, young people, very impressionable young people, who believe that. And so they believe that in order for them to be cool, they have to be like that. And that is contributing to some of the destruction that's going on in our community. So I challenge folks who are in the hip-hop game, and I have people in my company that are in the hip-hop game, and I challenge them to make sure that when we make music, and you guys make music, that is music that's going to affect the masses in a positive way. Now, in no way am I telling people or trying to censor people in terms of what they produce. You can produce whatever you want to produce, but just be mindful of the fact that whatever it is that you do produce is going to have an influence on your listeners. So I would say be careful. It ain't always about making the money. It ain't always about selling records. And of course, we all want to do that. We all want to make money. We all want to get rich doing this. But at the same time, we have to understand the influences that the things that we put out and how it affects our community. This is Rob Bell, and this is The Daily Rant.